All right, hey everybody, thanks for subscribing to the MLB Algorithm Sunday video. Couple little annoying things to talk about right up front. If you're updating this yourself at home, notice that in the lineup sheet today, there's this weird problem where they've postponed the Cleveland Minnesota game like just now. And when you paste in the lineups, you get it. The code that I've written here to parse out the teams in the lineups gets all screwed up because they have lineups but no pitchers in that game, and it puts the players on the wrong team. In order to fix that, it had to go through this list here, and you'll see that the part where the Cleveland Minnesota game starts, you have to just clear it out. So where that exists is you're not going to see it here, but it was right after this game starts, this blank area here. This is where the code started related to the Cleveland Minnesota game. The next thing it starts is the game time, and then the team names of the next game start. So this is what's blank here. I just cleared contents on this. And when you remove that and then refresh the pivot over here, it works and it gets everybody aligned properly. Otherwise, you're going to see over here, you're going to see a bunch of weird errors where it looks like it wants to put a bunch of the players from the Minnesota team on Milwaukee because that's the next team listed. So that's just an annoying problem that only happens when lineups are listed, but the game gets rained out and there are no pitchers listed. Just a weird problem. So I fixed that, and also you have to type in Christopher's full name because this came in as C. Sanchez, and you have to type his full name here to get his correct name in to match his name that is in the odds sheet. So removed the Minnesota Cleveland game from the odds sheet, got everything set up. We have a pretty good look at the matchup sheet. Couple things to note. Some pitchers did not have 2023 stats. Luis Gill, Max Meyer, and Shota Imanga, who played in Japan, using their 2024 stats. There's a lot of weirdness, especially in this Dodgers-Cubs game, because you've got Gavin Stone with an ERA of 9 last year, and Shota Imanga, who pitched really well in his start for the Cubs. So a whole lot of not very in-depth pitching information here, creating a really weird, distorted game where the Cubs win. So I don't know what to say about that and whether or not that's reliable. So that's just something to look at. Your stats for Max Meyer are kind of reasonable here in 2024, and your stats for Luis Gill were good in that he pitched well in his opening start. So he's up against Bowden Francis, who also has really excellent stats from last year. So it's still favoring the Yankees here. But anyway, let's take a look at the day pivot sheet. We did have a good day yesterday. Let's go over these games. Once again, the White Sox are terrible. Kansas City manages to win again yesterday. Here you've got that weird pitching matchup situation with Imanga pitching well. You can see the line's pretty good because they're going up against the Dodgers. I don't know how reliable this game is up top here, noting, all that weird information about the pitchers. So it's something you can play, but it probably isn't supposed to be number 2 on the list. Kansas City, Tampa Bay over Colorado. They win yesterday. Texas wins yesterday over Houston. Mets came back to lose to Cincinnati, right? Cincinnati beat them yesterday, so that's also good. Here you have the limited pitching stats for Luis Gill, but the Yankees are still up here. Notice we're looking at all favorites. I mean, Atlanta gets moved down with their minus 210 line all the way to below 10% margin. So I would say that this is actually not a great pick. It's way too far down on this list. Philly over Washington, yes. Boston blows a game yesterday. They were leading when I did the video recap last night, but they ended up losing. St. Louis over Miami. Miami's really bad this year. And then you get really down into the weeds here. We've got 2 underdogs, but they're way at the bottom of the list in San Diego and Pittsburgh. So what you can say is that these are your solid picks right here. All right. Up to your 10% margin games, your Kansas City, Tampa Bay, Texas, Cincinnati, Yankees, Philly. That's a good round robin. Playing like the 3s and the 4s maybe on those 6 games. That probably goes 4-2 or better on those 2 games. So that's what I'm probably going to do. And probably you throw the Cubs on there too because they're up there. But, it's just a little weird. Rest of the stuff is going to be sketchier. Do you play your 2 underdogs? I don't know. Let's look at our list and see what else we can figure out from this. So Atlanta, 6-4. pitching matchup. I mean, it's just whether or not Atlanta can continue to out hit Arizona, whose bullpen is not bad. Like the Arizona keeps making these games, and they keep losing them late, but they seem to be leading. They were up, I think, 5-0 and still lost yesterday. It's amazing. Philly, yeah, Washington is not good. You know, they're just not good. They find a way to lose games. Their bullpen's terrible. So Philadelphia probably wins that. Yankees, yep, limited pitching stats, but the Yankees are doing their best to try to win games. But this should be a good pitching matchup. Baltimore, Pittsburgh, very close. Notice the projected score favors Baltimore. This is the closest game of the day. The underdog line's not enough. You know, this is just a really, really close game. They probably get there on the over and runs because of this battle, trying to get runs in the end of the game. Mets and Cincinnati, we like Cincinnati. Manea's not a bad pitcher, but Andrew Abbott's also good. And the Mets can't hit is their problem. Oakland, Detroit, did the Sacramento A's win 2 in a row? The point projections say yes, but the margin says no. So this is one of those games where notice Detroit is much further down on the list, and that's probably because they're going up against Joe Boyle is the issue. So Joe Boyle actually has decent stats. So maybe like Blackburn pitching a good game yesterday, Boyle might pitch a good game too, and it doesn't really say that Detroit is as good of a pick as they were supposed to be over the previous few days. Kansas City is a no-brainer. Garrett Crochet, bad whip, and their lineup is terrible. Like it just takes a lot for the White Sox to win. And even though they might get some runs on Alec Marsh, who has a high ERA, Kansas City's supposed to out-hit them still. Seattle, Milwaukee. This is another one of those really close games where Milwaukee might win, but you're going up only against 12 innings from Emerson Hancock, so not a lot of stats there. Another game, I think, a reason to stay away from that game. Notice St. Louis and Miami both, once again, putting up a lot of runs. Only 5 innings for Max Meyer this year. Makes it a tougher game. Once again, in St. Louis, the weather's good. Might be a good idea to just go with the over there. Too close to call runs wise, but Miami has been playing terrible. That's that weird Cubs situation where they might knock it out of the park and win, because they've got this huge disparity in pitching on the limited stats that these guys have. But it does say the Cubs can win that game. Tampa Bay should beat Colorado. Ryan Pepitot, good pitcher. Dakota Hudson's not bad either, but Tampa Bay's supposed to win this game. So what about this San Diego-San Francisco game? It's a 4-4 tie. You get an underdog line with San Diego. Logan Webb pitches a lot and pitches deep into the game and is pretty good. Matt Waldron, okay. So that's why you're getting an underdog line, is that it's the money on Logan Webb here in San Francisco. Lineup factor. The problem is San Francisco's bullpen, but Logan Webb goes 6 or 7 innings. Wow. I mean, he really seems to pitch a lot and go deep into games. So that's why this game is kind of too close to call. And I think staying away from it is probably a good idea. It's probably going to go either way. Do you go with Boston? It says yes. And the line's not bad. You're going up against Chase Silseth. He doesn't go that deep into the game is the issue. So you're going to be dealing with the Angels bullpen a little more, and that probably puts this in, even though their bullpen held up last night, but usually Boston would be able to win that game with a better BABIP and a better bullpen in general, and the lineup factor is about the same. I think it's worth it at the 9th pick to go with them there. And then Texas playing well. Dane Dunning, good pitcher. Rinel Blanco, okay. But Texas has been hitting the ball. The lineup factors are about the same, but their bullpen's been better and their BABIP's been better. And that's why they're number 4 on the list. So the recap, really, it depends on whether or not you want to risk it on the Cubs there, but all this stuff is potential. Could be a pretty good day, up, top, down. You can cut it off about 10%. I'd like to judge profitability once again on the games that are more up at the top. Yesterday was really good, really only losing Detroit and Milwaukee, but Milwaukee wasn't on the list when you run the macro. I did not run the macro to see if some of these teams are not on the list, but you can kind of tell by margin that these games down here are going to be really iffy. And also seeing Detroit all the way down here at minus 190, that's telling you don't play them. And if they manage to lose that game to that decent pitcher on Oakland, it will not be a surprise. So I would stick to right up here. And I think these 7 games are the ones to go with on like a round robin. And playing the threes on these 7 games in a round robin is probably going to yield profitability today. So we'll see how that goes. Good luck. May all your picks be winning.